Layers in Photoshop can be a bit of a mystery when you first start with Photoshop. In video 1 we looked at the concepts of how layers work. If you're not quite sure, just have a quick scoot back to video 1 and have a watch, and that should bring you really up to speed with how layers work. But in this video we're going to look at a real world example of how layers can be used. Okay, my name's Ken Fisher and this is Live Link Training. Okay, so here we are in the organizer and I'm in the media section. And you can see here I've got some images. Yeah, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, I've got 5 images, and what I'm going to try and do is make a montage out of them. And we're going to be using styles, and we're going to be using quite a few skills, including actually using and manipulating layers. Okay, so I'd like to get these into the editor, so I'm going to click on the first one, and then I'm going to shift click on the last one, and that selects all of them. And then I'm going to go down and I'm going to click on the editor button, and that's going to launch the editor for me. Now I'm in the expert mode. I want to be, that's what I need to be. And if you look at the top here in the tabs, you'll see that each image is now open, but it's got its own tab. Now if you want to see the images actually all together visually, then if you go down to the bottom here to the photo bin, and if you click on the photo bin, you'll see these are all the images that are open, ready for use with the editor. Now my first job is to pick a background image. I want an image that I want to lay all my other images on top of. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick this one, because I think that's a quite nice one, of the Flying Scotsman coming into York Station. So I've got that one now, and I need to find another image. Let's pick this one. So I'm going to click and drag it and just drop it on top of the other one. And now if you look in the layers panel, you'll see that I've got 2 images, and I've got my background and I've got my montage 1 image. But my montage 1 is the same size, so it's covering up the image underneath, so I need to change that. So to do that, I'm going to use the transform command, because I need to make this image smaller. And transform, I'm going to press Ctrl and T as a keyboard shortcut, because I like keyboard shortcuts. And then I'm going to hold the Shift key down, and I'm going to click and drag to drag that down and make it something like, yeah, something like that. And then I'm going to click the tick to OK it. And then I'm going to get my move tool, and I can do that by going up and clicking on the move tool in the panel here, or pressing V on the keyboard. And then I'm going to click on this and drag it up to this corner, somewhere like that. And then I think I'll transform it again, so Command and T. And if you move outside the transform, you'll see you get this little bendy arrow. And if I click and drag now, I can rotate around that center point. I quite like that, just a little bit of an odd angle. And then I'll click the tick again. Now I'd like to make this look a little bit like a photograph, so I'm going to add a style to it. Now the styles are down here. If you look down at the bottom underneath the layers panel here that's open, if I click on the styles panel, it brings up a set of styles. Now there's quite a lot of other different styles. We've got glows and glass buttons and everything, but for this one I want the strokes section. And you can see there are a few strokes in here, and I'm going to pick, let's say this one, the black stroke 40 pixel. I'm going to click on that, and you can see it's a bit big and the corners are rounded, so I need to change that. So how do I do that? Well, there's a cog wheel up here at the top of the styles panel, and if I click on that, it says show style settings. Now in the settings there's a whole host of different ones, but the one that we've got open is stroke. Now 52 is a bit big. I think I'm going to drop that down to about 10. And I'm just typed in 10, or you can move the slider. Now the rounded corners are because this stroke is on the outside of the image, and I want them to be square. So I'm going to change the position of this stroke to inside, and what you'll see is when I click inside it jumps inside, but now it's constrained by the outside of the actual document, so it's going to be square. And then I'll change the colour. I'll click on the colour swatch and I'll change it to white, and white's right up here at the top corner. I'm going to click on that and then click OK. And as you can see, we've now got what looks like a little photograph. So I'm going to click OK on that one again, and I think that looks pretty cool. And let's just try a style. We'll try a drop shadow. I don't know whether this will be much good because it is quite a dark background, but we'll just try a drop shadow and see if that just lifts it. Ooh, I don't want the noisy one. No, let's try that one. Let's try changing the style on that a little bit, the drop shadow. Yeah, we'll just bring it down a little bit, so we've just got a little bit of a, we'll put the opacity right up and we'll bring the size down. And the distance away, and we can change the actual lighting angle, so I'll put it somewhere like that, and then just take the size back a little bit and the distance, so I just want it peeping out from the bottom, so it just gives it a bit of separation from that background. I like that. Okay, I'm gonna click OK again on that. Right, I just need to repeat that now, so I'm going to go back to my photo bin and pick another image. I've got that one. Let's try this one. So again, whoops, so again I'm clicking and dragging and I'll drop that one. Then exactly the same, I'm going to do Command and T or Control and T if you're on a PC. I'm going to hold the Shift key down and I'm going to drag it down just to make it smaller. Something like that. Drag it up into this top corner, I think, with this one. And then again, while it's in transform, I can just move outside the transform handles and I can click and drag just to give it a bit of a rotate. And then I'll click the tick to accept it. Now I'd like it again to have this little border around it to make it look like a photo, but I don't want to be going and doing all the same things over and over again. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to show you a little trick. If you go to the layers panel and then we click on montage 1 layer, because that's the one that we did the effect on, and you can see that because there's a little FX icon. Now if I hold the Alt key down and I click on that FX, I can drag it and drop it onto the montage 4 layer. Bing, look at that, as by magic. Oh, that's pretty cool, that, yeah. Okay, let's try another one. I'll try this little detail shot of the Flying Scotsman plate. And I'll drop that in. And again, Command and T. Let's drop it down a little bit. Something like that. I'll still got the move tool because I'm in transform, so I'll drag it up somewhere here. Again, move outside, just put it at a little bit of an angle and click the tick. And then again I'll copy, it doesn't matter which layer I copy it from. I'll click on the montage 4 layer. I'm going to hold the Alt key down and click and copy the styles onto that layer. That looks pretty good. I think this one looks a bit out of shape, so okay, let's click on the flag layer now and I'll do Command and T for transform and I'll just drag it out to make it a little bit bigger. Maybe just itch it in a bit. No, I think that looks better. Okay, now which one haven't we got? We've got the flag, we've got that, we've got the Flying Scotsman Returns. We haven't got that one. So let's drag that in. Again, what is it for transform? Yeah, you're right. It's Command and T or Control and T if you're on a Mac. So I'm going to hold the shift key down again and drag it down, make it about the same size, drag it into position. I'll drag it up here somewhere like that, move outside, rotate it a little bit and double click. And then what about that little trick that we did for copying the effects? We click on a layer that's got the effects, we hold the Alt key down and we click on the effects. We're not moving the layer, we're just clicking on the FX and we're dragging and dropping that onto that, and that looks pretty cool. Yeah, I'm liking that. Okay, what can we do now? Oh, a bit of text, I think. So I'm going to click on the top layer. So I'm going to click on that montage 1 layer because it's the top of the stack, because I'm going to put a text layer on, and that I want to be on the top of the stack. So let's go and get my text layer. I can do that by pressing the T key or clicking in that on the T in the toolbar, and I'll click somewhere in the image, somewhere down here. Whoa, that looks a bit big. Okay, now here in the tool options bar for the type tool, I can change things. So let's try making the text a little bit smaller. Set 36. That look a bit better. Yeah, that looks a little bit better. So let's type something, and we'll type Scotty returns. And I don't want black really, so I'm going to right click and swipe across it, and then we're going to go to the colour swatch, and let's say change it to white so I can probably see it, and then we'll click the tick. Oh well, I've got a big C, never mind, we'll change that in a minute, but it's a bit big anyway, so I need to select all that text again so I can change the size and the font. And a quick way to do that is to double click the T in the layers panel. Here we've got the little icon. If I double click that, it brings up the text, and I want to change that to a small c, and I want to make it a little bit smaller. So again, I'll just swipe over it and we'll try, let's say, a 30. Still a bit big. Let's try a 24. I think we're getting there. I've still got the move tool, so I can move it into position somewhere like that. Now let's try and change the font. So let's double click again, and I've got all these hundreds of fonts. If you look again down in the tool options bar, I've got loads of them. So I'm just going to scroll through a little bit and see if I can find one I like. I'll start at the top. Yeah, well, the one I've used before and I quite like is my third man regular. So I'll just drag that a little bit further over into position. That looks quite nice, that. Yeah, let's try it, maybe an effect. I don't know whether this is going to work, but we've got our type layer selected, and I'll go down and go to the styles panel. And again, let's try a drop shadow. It's pretty dark, so I don't know whether that's going to work, but let's try. We'll go again into the little cog wheel, and we can drop the size and drop the distance. So we'll just try and get a little bit of a 3D effect. Quite like that. The opacity, yeah, we'll drop the opacity a little bit. Yeah, I quite like that. The Scotty returns. Maybe I need to have the word the, but I quite like that, so I'm going to accept that for my style. And if I go back to my layers panel now by clicking on this little icon at the bottom, you'll see that I've now got the effects on the style. But I'd like the word the, so again I'm going to double click on the T icon, and I'm going to click just before the S, and then I'm going to type the and put a space. So I've now got the Scotty returns, and it's a bit close to that edge, so I'm just going to move it over a little bit. And then click OK, and I think we're doing well. We're doing really well here. Right, now the final touch is I'd like to add like a bit of a sepia tone effect to this. And so I'm going to do this with an adjustment layer. And I want my adjustment layer to be underneath the text layer, because I like the text layer to stay white. I don't want that to be sepia. So I'm going to click on the montage 1 layer, because when I put an adjustment layer on, it puts it above the active layer, and that's now the active layer. Now my adjustment layers are up here, this little black and white yin and yang icon here. If I click on that and hold down, then I'll get I want to select the hue and saturation adjustment. And I want to select colorize, because I want to make the whole of this image the same color. So I'm going to select colorize, and then I'm going to take the hue to something like, yeah, in the 30s. You tend to get a nice sepia tone look. And the saturation, well, I'll just take that down a little bit. I'm liking that, I am. Okay, now I'd like to do a little bit of, I'd like a shock of colour just to draw my eye into the image. So I'm going to try now, because I've got an adjustment on here, and I've got a mask that comes with the adjustment. And what this is saying is, anywhere on this mask that's white, show me the adjustment. So obviously everywhere on this document now is sepia tone, because that's what the adjustment is doing for me. But if I paint with black on this mask, I can actually cut a hole through to see through to the image underneath. Okay, how do we do that? Well, we're going to do that with the brush tool, with a paintbrush. So I can go over and click on the brush tool, or I can press the B key to select the brush tool. And I need my colour to be black. So at the moment I've got a foreground colour of white, and I've got a background colour of black, and I need to rotate them round. And we do that with the X key. That toggles your foreground and your background colour. And now I've got everything I need. I've got a nice paintbrush, and you can see in the tool options bar here, I can change the size by using this slider and the opacity. I've got a soft edge brush, which is good. Or I can use the keyboard shortcuts for changing the size of the brush on the fly. And I'll have something like that. And I'll make sure that I've clicked and this mask is active. You can tell that because it's got a little blue line around it. So if I click on here, you'll see the blue line is round the actual adjustment. So the mask is not selected now. And I need, when I'm masking, the mask to be selected. So I'm going to click on that again just to make sure I see that blue line. And now I'm going to paint with black on this mask, and you'll see the magic of masking, though it's just bringing through all the colour where I'm painting. And I just want the front of this to be, oh, look at that, yes, I'm liking this. So I'm going down here, there we go. Now if you want to see if you've missed anything, you can see the mask up here. If I hold the Alt key down and click on the mask, you'll see just the mask. So I can see that, yeah, I have missed some bits. So I can fill them in now. And then Alt and click on the mask again to bring me back to the original image. And there we go. We have now used layers to create a multi-layer document. And so we've added layers, and we've added an adjustment layer, and we've added a text layer, and we've added styles. Haven't we done well? Okay, well that's it for this video. I do hope you've enjoyed it. If you did, please leave me a comment under the video, give me a thumbs up, and please, if you've enjoyed the video, please click that subscribe button and help me to grow my Photoshop learning community. I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.